I'm telling you this for your own education.
The person who spat that out at me was my husband Paul, whom I had always thought was on my side. We had worked hard to save up money to build our new dream home. Then suddenly Paul's parents moved in with us. I did my utmost to get along with everyone, but I couldn't bear being treated as a slave by my in-laws and reached out to my husband for help. I am Katie, a 27-year-old married woman working part-time at a supermarket. My husband, Paul, is 3 years older than me. He doesn't make a lot of money, but he works hard every day. Since we got married 7 years ago, our goal has been to build a new home. Paul is a regular office worker, and I'm just a part-time worker at a supermarket, so the amount we can save from our combined salaries is small. Still, we diligently saved every month and had many discussions with real estate agents about getting a mortgage, and finally, it seemed like things were starting to come together. The mortgage seems to be coming together well, so let's start deciding on the specifics of our home.
Yes, I've been thinking about it too, like wanting a room for the kids.
I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to live in our new house. As we continued these conversations, the image of our new home started to take shape, and I was moved. During the construction, Paul and I visited the site many times and got excited about possibly buying new furniture and appliances. Hey, since we're doing this, why not get a bigger refrigerator? We might have kids soon, so we'll need a family-sized one, right?
Yeah, a bigger fridge would be better if our family is going to grow.
Right? Also, about the kids' room, is it too early to start buying a baby bed and toys? What do you think?
Maybe it's a bit early for that. For now, we can keep the room empty.
You're right. I'm sorry for rushing things. How about we go to the electronics store tomorrow to take a look?
Yeah, let's decide together bit by bit.
Eventually, our new home was completed. Standing in front of our shiny new home, Paul and I dreamed of a bright future together. While talking to the real estate agent, a moving truck arrived. I was surprised to see an unexpected people when I approached the truck to greet them. They were Paul's parents, my in-laws. I wondered why they were here. Perhaps they came to surprise us with a celebration? Confused, I looked at Paul, who was smiling and heading towards his parents. He probably knew they were coming. I asked Paul what was going on. Paul, you should have told me if your parents were coming. I was so surprised.
Sorry. I completely forgot to tell you, Katie. But we're going to live together now, so maybe it's better not to be too formal.
What do you mean? You're not saying we're going to live with your parents, are you?
Oh, didn't I mention? They're just dropping off their things today and will come to stay in 3 days. Come on, let's go greet them.
Wait a minute. That's impossible. This is our house that we built together. Why would you decide something so important on your own?
That's why I'm saying sorry. Come on, they're waiting. Let's at least go greet them.
I went with Paul to greet my in-laws, but I was so shocked by the situation that I couldn't follow the conversation. My in-laws greeted me with smiles, but I couldn't understand what was so enjoyable about this. Paul, Katie, congratulations on your new home. It's really lovely.
Indeed. Thinking of all of us living here together is exciting.
You knew about living together, didn't you, Sarah and Ryan? Couldn't you have consulted with me as well?
Katie, they both came all the way here for our housewarming. Let's not talk about this now. It's too late to say no to living together.
I heard that his parents had timed their lease termination to coincide with our house being built. Leaving them homeless would be too harsh, and I was left speechless. Then, we all entered our new home and the room assignments began.
I was thinking of letting Mom and Dad use this room.
The room he showed was the one we had discussed making into a kid's room. Oh, wait a minute, you're joking, right? We talked about making this our kids' room several times.
That's true, but after that I discussed it with my parents and we decided they would use it.
Why would you decide that without consulting me? I'm sorry, Katie. From now on, we'll make sure to discuss important matters together. Could you forgive us just this once?
Katie, we're truly sorry.
Being apologized to by both of them, I could no longer press the issue. 3 days later, my in-laws truly moved in with us. My lack of trust towards my husband and in-laws was substantial, but by the time I realized it, it was too late to make any changes. Thus, we began living together, even though I wasn't still convinced by this. Life was tough because we started off on the wrong foot. Both in-laws did not do any housework at all. When I returned from work at the supermarket, they were relaxing and watching TV in the living room. Of course, the house was a mess. Cooking, cleaning, and laundry all fell on me. The workload was bearable when it was just for my husband and me, but for 4 people, it was unbearable.
Katie, the laundry's piling up, so please take care of it today. And when you hang the clothes, make sure to stretch them out so they don't wrinkle.
Katie, could you prepare the meals and bath early? I want to bathe by 6 o'clock. Also, could you make the food a bit saltier?
After being nagged like this every day, I couldn't stand it any longer after the first week and decided to talk to my in-laws. I have something to say. It's not right that I'm left to do all the housework by myself. I work too, and my husband needs to take on some responsibility. You're both retired and home. Could you both help out with the housework a little?
What are you talking about? House chores are a wife's job. And how dare you speak to your own parents-in-law like that?
I did all the household chores by myself back in the day. It's only natural for you to do the same.
I was so taken aback by their fierce response that I couldn't say anything back. That night, after my husband came home, I told him about what happened. Today, I tried asking your parents to help out with the chores a bit, but it ended up making them really angry. Honestly, doing everything for 4 people is really tough, and I need your help.
Are you serious? Considering the hours we work and our income, it's obvious that you should be the one doing the chores. And I can't imagine asking my parents to take over household duties. This is a good opportunity for you to learn the ropes of household management from my mom.
My husband's words made me realize that I had no support in this place. At that moment, I decided to leave. The next day, which was my day off, I planned to leave early in the morning and packed my bags during the night. In the morning, I went to the living room to talk to my husband, and all 3 of them were there. Thinking it was a good opportunity, I started speaking to them. I have something to tell you. It's difficult for me to continue living together, so I've decided to return to my parents' house.
What are you talking about all of a sudden? If it's about yesterday, we've talked it over and reflected on it. Can't you forgive us?
Sorry, Katie. From now on, let's cooperate and share the household chores.
I'm sorry for what I said yesterday. It was too much. I apologize.
Oh, is that so? I might have overreacted. Let's all work together to make this house a better place. After being apologized to by my husband and in-laws, I felt deflated, and we reached a compromise on sharing the household duties. However, their words turned out to be a complete lie. Even on the day we had that discussion, they all made excuses and did nothing to help. Their attitude remained unchanged the following days, which led me to decisively plan my second departure from home. Enough is enough. Nothing has changed at all. This time, I'm truly going back to my parents' house. After saying that and leaving the house, I was utterly disgusted by the 3 of them causing a scene and shouting to the entire neighborhood behind me.
Everyone, have you seen my wife? I can't get in touch with her.
Katie, where are you? Please come back home.
Could she have been involved in some incident? We should contact the police.
Unable to ignore the 3 of them causing trouble for the neighbors, I had no choice but to turn back and return home. Of course, their attitude towards life did not improve, and reaching my physical and mental limits, I left the house without telling the 3 of them. The next day, I received a call from an unknown number at my parents' house, where I had run away to. It was a call from the police, unbelievably informing me that a missing person report had been filed by the 3 of them. I explained the situation to the police, but they told me they could not further intervene in domestic issues. Unable to dismiss the police's advice to calm down and discuss things with everyone, I returned to what felt like days of hell. One day during my desperate daily struggle, Sarah invited her sister to our house. Unaware of this, I was ordered by Sarah to prepare dinner as soon as I got home from work.
Welcome back, Katie. Can you prepare dinner since my sister is here? Make it more luxurious than usual, please.
How can you spring this on me all of a sudden? If you had told me in advance...
Don't talk back. Just go shopping now. Our guest is waiting.
Watching our exchange, Sarah's sister looked on with a puzzled expression. She had been told by Sarah that our family got along very well. that there were no issues between me and her, and that Paul's wife made delicious meals every day. She was invited today, looking forward to enjoying such a meal. Hearing this made the tense atmosphere seem even more bizarre. I never planned on playing along with Sarah's act, but I couldn't just be mean to her sister and ended up cooking against my will. I'll make do with what we have then.
What are you saying? My sister has come all this way and you want to settle for whatever we have? Go shopping now. You're so inefficient, always talking but never getting the chores done.
Enough. Why do I have to be scolded by you? If you're not going to help, at least stay quiet. Reaching my limit, I forgot about Sarah's sister being there and retorted in earnest. I went straight to Paul's room and told him everything exactly as it happened. What's going on with your mother? Tell her to behave herself.
Entertaining guests is the duty of a wife. How dare you speak to my mother like that? It's because of your usual attitude that she thought to educate you by setting this up. If you have so many complaints, then just leave this house.
With that, Paul pulled out a divorce paper he had apparently been holding on to and thrust it at me. You say that, but your signature isn't even on it. It's just all talk because you'd be in trouble if I left, right?
You never shut up. Whether you're here or not makes no difference to me. Look, I signed it, so get out.
Receiving the divorce paper made me almost want to dance with joy. I quickly signed it and gathered my valuables into a bag. Our argument was so loud that Sarah, her sister, and Ryan, who had apparently returned at some point, heard everything. I tried to leave without a second glance at them, but my in-laws, realizing they'd be without someone to do all the housework like a slave, desperately tried to stop me.
What's going on, Katie? Let's calm down and talk. We can discuss this together.
I went too far earlier, Katie. I'm sorry. Look, Paul, apologize quickly too.
It's fine, just leave her be. I thought I'd discipline her by being lenient, but she got too cocky. Just get out.
His verbal abuse didn't reach me now that I had the divorce papers in hand. I ignored all three of them completely, took only one bag, and left the house. I immediately submitted the divorce papers. It was accepted without any issues, and I was finally freed from those nightmare-like days. I went straight to my parents' house to discuss both what had happened and my plans for the future. I honestly talked about my intention to sue them, my plan to start living alone near my workplace, and my hope for a little financial assistance. My parents gladly accepted, praising me for doing well and working hard up until now. Determined not to worry or trouble my parents any further, I resolved to confront those three thoroughly. A week later, I headed to the house where the three of them lived. Paul's parents weren't home, so the discussion started just between Paul and me.
I thought you'd come back soon, but you held out longer than expected. If you apologize properly, I might even forgive you.
I didn't come here to apologize. The divorce papers have already been accepted, and we are now nothing more than strangers, so stop acting all high and mighty. I will be filing for compensation and division of property.
You come back acting all high and mighty. Why should I have to pay you when you've been nothing but trouble?
I have no intention of discussing this directly with you any further. From now on, any discussions will be through my lawyer. I have video and diary entries of everything you and your parents have done to me, so if you refuse to pay, I will take this to court. That's all I came to say today. Goodbye. After saying what I needed to, I left the house, ignoring Paul, who seemed to want to say something. I later heard about Paul and his parents' living situation through my lawyer. After our divorce, Paul and his parents intended to continue living in the same house, but their plans fell through. Naturally, there was a significant mortgage left on the new house. The house was in Paul's name, and when we lived together, his salary went towards the mortgage payments, while mine covered our living expenses. With me gone, their financial situation reportedly worsened dramatically. Paul turned to his parents for help, asking if they could use the money from selling their previous home to cover living expenses. Sadly, Paul's parents were way too extravagant, wasting money on expensive cars, designer handbags, and endless golf trips, leaving them with almost nothing. As a result, Paul was unable to continue making the monthly mortgage payments. After being pressed by the real estate agency and consulting his lawyer, Paul decided to sell the newly built house to pay off the mortgage. However, the sale did not go smoothly. Since no one had cleaned the house after I left, it was filthy, with holes and stains everywhere, and the cost of cleaning was significant. It was tough, but they still sold the house, although they didn't make much from it. Paul ended up with a substantial debt from the remaining mortgage and the compensation payments to me, as I was informed by my lawyer. Paul and his parents ended up living in a cheap apartment, all three working desperately every day to make ends meet. Hearing this from my lawyer, I momentarily felt sorry for them, but quickly reminded myself of their treatment towards me. Karma finally caught up with them. I planned to cut all ties once the compensation payments were complete. Then one day, Paul unexpectedly showed up at my new place, where I was living alone. I had made sure he couldn't contact me by phone and had not given him my address, so I demanded to know how he found me. How did you find out where I live? I haven't told anyone.
Actually, I had someone follow you from your workplace. I really needed to talk to you.
What are you doing? That's creepy. I have nothing to talk about with you. Please leave.
Don't be like that. Just hear me out, please. Marry me again? I'm just not good without you.
Do you even hear yourself? Remarrying is out of the question. Please leave.
Please, you're all we have left to rely on.
Paul said this while explaining the current situation to me. Due to the burden of the mortgage and compensation payments, Paul had accumulated a significant amount of debt, and the stress drove him into gambling and alcohol, further increasing his debts. He came to me, obviously seeking sympathy and help, but I had no intention of showing any pity and quickly tried to send him away. I understand your situation. However, I have no intention of helping you. Please, leave now.
Even after I've begged like this, you won't help me?
You may be acting humble now, but all you've ever thought about was making me a slave, right? I can't trust people like you anymore. Goodbye. As I tried to close the door, Paul grabbed my arm, showing his true colors.
How can you act like this when I'm begging you? You should just be quiet and do as I say.
Paul started to rage and insult me suddenly. A neighbor heard the commotion and kindly called the police, which helped to defuse the situation. I was worried that Paul and his family had learned my address. Unfortunately, my fears were realized when Paul's parents, having gotten my address from Paul, also showed up at my house. I dealt with them through the locked door. There's nothing I want to discuss with you. Please leave.
Katie, please. You're the only one we can turn to. We were family once. Let's help each other out.
That's right, Katie. Please, we're at our limit. Let's live together again.
Please stop saying whatever is convenient for you. I have no intention of discussing anything with you, and you're causing a disturbance in the neighborhood. If you continue to make a scene in front of my house, I'll call the police.
How dare you speak to us like that? Don't you have a heart to feel gratitude or obligation?
Exactly. Just come out and listen to us. You should just obey what we say.
They started banging on the door and ringing the bell so much that I thought it would break. Realizing there was nothing more I could do, I called the police. After the police took them away, I had a brief conversation with an officer. After explaining what had happened and my current situation, the officer subtly suggested that I move. I had been considering moving since Paul's visit, so I decided to go through with it. I consulted with my parents and decided to stay with them for a while. They welcomed me warmly. I also talked to my workplace about the situation and asked if I could change my hours, which they agreed to readily. They told me I could consult them anytime, and I was grateful for such a supportive workplace. After moving and changing my work hours, I'm now living peaceful days without fear of those three finding me. Later, I was promoted to a full-time position at a newly launched branch of the supermarket where I work part-time, thanks to my hard work being recognized. This job is in a different area, so I no longer have to worry about running into those three, and my daily life is fulfilling with a rewarding job. My salary increased significantly, allowing me to repay my parents without any trouble. They are more than happy about my current situation. I later heard from my lawyer that Paul and his parents' situation hasn't improved at all. The three of them, unable to do any housework, live in a rundown apartment that has become like a garbage dump, working like mules while still not giving up on gambling and alcohol, leading to ever-increasing debts. Their miserable lives are likely to continue for a while. Remembering that what you do to others will come back to you, I engraved this lesson in my heart and went to work, determined to protect my wonderful new days.